Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Investing Bros. It is Friday, the last show of the week. It's going to be a good one, though. We are kind of changing. We usually have titles around Bitcoin. We usually focus on that. We'll probably talk a little Bitcoin today, but we're focusing on altcoins with our special guest, CVO. So don't go anywhere. Definitely talking Cardano, XRP, and others. So you definitely want to hear all of that information. Gonna be a great show. Go ahead and smash that like button if you have not already. I am joined by amazing co-hosts. I'm a little out of breath. I'm gonna be honest. This is bad. So I made a joke right before we went live. I told Piper I need to run and get a water bottle, but watch this speed. So I literally sprinted out the door, ran to my fridge, got a water bottle, came back, and it turns out I need to do more cardio because I'm out of breath. I've been trying to hold together this whole intro, and it is just rough. So I'm going to quickly throw it over to my co-host across the desk from me while I breathe a little bit. T-Shroom, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really good. I'm also out of breath, but I'm going to try to make it through. Okay. I'm better than I deserve. And I won an ATB last night. That was a lot of fun. Shout out to DZ. Man, it really is a lot of fun to be on that show. And shout out to Crypto Blood, who helped me out because those were my dogs that barked really loud after DZ's intro. But there's more going on in the world than me featuring on ATB. It is Good Friday. So I've got a Good Friday quote here. If you'll go to my screen, Piper, that is, life is a maybe, death is for sure. Sin is the cause and Christ is the cure. Happy Good Friday. I've actually never heard that rhyme before.
I've never either.
But that's pretty good. Decent summation of the gospel there. So happy Good Friday to everybody who might be celebrating. We certainly are. And back to you, Tim.
Awesome. Yeah. Happy Good Friday to everybody. In case you didn't know what Good Friday is, it's the celebration. Not really. I don't know why it's a celebration necessarily. It's the remembrance of it in the Christian faith. The concept is that, Jesus was crucified on a Friday night is the thought. And then he resurrected 3 days later on a Sunday. But there's a time of remembrance on Friday. So if anyone was wondering why is it called Good Friday, what's going on there, that is what's going on. But I do want to introduce Piper all the way from Texas. How are you doing this morning, Piper?
I'm doing fantastic. So if it's Good Friday and normally Friday yay is good, that would make it Great Friday. Just so you know.
Wow.
Yes,
I like it.
It's true. Very, very true. We're also joined this morning by CVO, a technical analyst specialist doing a lot of trading with altcoins. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great, Tim. Thank you guys for having me on. Love the new show. Love the new setup. Appreciate you letting me borrow the brick dungeon room to use the computer there. Doing really well, man. And as far as the cardio goes, I personally, the only cardio I get in is when I'm running to and from the fridge. So it's definitely something that can be utilized as a daily regimen there. So I look forward to maybe going in with reps on you. Put it on Strava.
Have you ever seen that guy T-Shirt on TikTok that he does things like what if humans? He pretty much has a whole training. He's like, what if humans did blah 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 whenever they do things. And he had one. It's like, what if humans ran everywhere instead of walking? And it's just him running and doing everything while running, like making the bed while running. Yeah.
I like
folding laundry while running in place.
I think that could be fun.
I feel like you have something you want to add to this conversation here, T-Shirt.
I just want to ask CVO, hey, how's Windows 7 there in the tech dungeon we got you set up in?
It's pretty nice, man. I like the 3-inch screen and the corded mouse. It's dope.
Yeah, don't log into anything because it's more than likely hacked. So
for sure.
Oh my goodness, we like to have fun. If you guys are new here, this is your first day viewing, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. On this show every single day, we cover everything you need to know about Bitcoin and crypto. We talk about stocks. We do TA. We cover the news. We have a lot of fun. Again, this is the end of the first week where we've shifted to a 90-minute show. So we're about to jump in here in a little bit. We're going to do a macro news update. Then we're going to cover some TA here with CVO, get into some news. And then on the last half hour, we will do answering questions, just engaging with you guys as a community. So if you want to ask questions about technical analysis, recent news events, stocks, crypto, Bitcoin, whatever it is, we want to engage with you guys and answer all of your questions. So make sure, again, smash that like button. We got almost 60 people watching right now. Only 27 likes though, so gotta get those likes up. And again, if you have not subscribed already, we are one of the fastest growing YouTube channels for sure. And I think that is just going to start accelerating here, especially as we're watching prices go back up and more people coming in to YouTube. By the way, one of our goals here is to be the most generous YouTube community out there, not just in crypto, but overall. In case you guys are wondering, any super chats, any sponsors, anything that comes into this channel, we just thought very long and hard about this, T. Schumann and myself, when we were creating the channel. We said, you know what, we're going to be very generous, and 20% of anything that comes in here with anything you guys give us, like our Patreon members, our if you guys bring a super chat, 20% of that is going out to charity. And next week, we will be announcing what charity we are going to be giving all of quarter one's 20% profit from. So make sure you guys are involved with this channel. And again, if you guys are passionate about that, giving back and being generous people, you have found the perfect channel for just that. Speaking of this amazing community, it's time to read some amazing names here. And I did this morning. I didn't make the mistake. I wrote down the first commenter of the day, and that was Mr. Amello Fellow. Nice. But not only was he the first comment, T-Shirt, he was also the second comment.
Oh, wow.
So his bot's putting in some extra time today, going some overtime. Definitely take that bot out for lunch today, Amello Fellow. Make it feel special. Because you have been winning quite a lot here frequently.
And you've made us feel special.
He has. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder, is Al Bundles just giving up? Because to my recollection, it's 1, 2, 3. I guess he was third, because Justin Eubanks and Amello Follow were a lot of the same people. Yeah. But shout out to Justin Eubanks. Shout out to Al Bundles. Al Bundles got to work on that bot, though. Yeah. Crypto Ben Franklin is here. Welcome in the world's favorite non-president. Let's see who else is here. Yair Navarro is here. Mike Play is here this morning. Poshus is here. GM. Love it. Austin Mead is here. Glad to see you here, my friend. Crypto Pew Pew Cruz. I'm loving it. Giving his comment about Cardano. Huge sell wall at 41 cents and 42 for ADA. Good money, bros. Love to see it. Ninja Glock is here. Designer Vibes is here. Bedridden is here, which, speaking of Bedridden, we need to do something special for him. He is one of our Diamond members now, so he gets to be a moderator. So let's see here. Right there. He is now should have a blue name with a blue wrench. So shout out to Bedridden. T Shroom with the blue wrench, speaking of him, is in here. Who else do we got? Freedom Advocate is here. Win Peoples is here. Servando Estrada.
Estrada.
We got to do that one again. Servando Estrada is here.
Servando
there we go.
Estrada.
Yes, there we go. Max PP. Who else do we have? The King is here. James Obleton is here. We got a couple names here I haven't seen. Maddie123, Joe Nickel, GT Nuts. There we go. Maddie123, CVO Crypto is in the chat and in the house. Who do we got? A couple more names here. Isidro Uloa. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. CBD Suddy is here. Jeep Girl is here. A couple more, and then we'll keep moving on. JT Skinner is here again. Good to see him here yesterday. Oh, the great Kelly Kellum is in chat as well. With the comment. I haven't heard this in a while, Kelly. I think you're the only person that calls me this. But he said Timbo Slice. Love it.
I like that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We're going to get going here. Last couple, though. Sir Maguara. Oh, this goes back to those old days of me reading names that are just butchering. Sir Mugawara. We're going to go with it. Dejeni from the blockchain.
That's
all right.
Funny. That's good.
There we go.
I like that.
Josh Denham. Josh Denham also is here. So I think there's a small chance that I think I've read everyone's name. If I have not, though, and if I missed your name, it does not mean I don't love you. Speaking to you, Oman13, who just commented, it just means it is time to go ahead and move on with the show. And that I'm going to start off before we go to the macro overview with Piper. Put a poll in chat. A lot of you guys have already voted on it, but what do you guys think? ADA is kind of our main topic of the day today. Where is ADA going? There's been some ups, there's been some downs, there's some FUD, there's some FOMO. It's kind of a chaotic coin at the moment. What do you guys think is happening? At the moment, there are 4 options: back down to 23 cents or new lows. Then we also have back up to 43 cents, which is a high at the moment, and then above 50 cents. We're going to talk about the potential of it doing just that, going above 50 cents. But right now, our community is leading with 38% saying we're going to go back up to 43% and then potentially get rejected there. Let me know what you guys think on ADA. We're about to talk about that here in just a second. But first, let's throw it over to Army Piper and get our macro update of the day, because there was some very important news that came out this morning.
All right, Tim. So this morning we had unemployment rate came out this morning. You guys know, as Tim's aunt, Auntie Beth, said that these rate hikes were going to destroy the U.S. labor force and just ramp up our unemployment rate. Well, we actually came down. Unemployment's down to 3.5% instead of 3.6% as it was last month. Non-farm payrolls came out this morning, which was actually down 236,000 from its previous 326,000. What this is new jobs that were created that are non-farm jobs. But I do want to come in here and break this down for you a little bit, because it's actually not really a fair number to have. We actually had unusually mild weather and seasonal factors that led to strong job gains in the first 2 months of the year. So even though we had 239,000 this month, or 236,000 jobs compared to the 239,000 that were there, and much lower than the 300,000 plus that we had last month, it's actually because we had 2 great months. So our decent average month looks really, really bad. If you actually look in here, the employment continued trending up in leisure and hospitality. 72,000 jobs in the past month, or last month, were created in leisure and hospitality, which means people are going out and traveling more. They're getting out and doing stuff, right? So that's good. Really well, where it fell was in retail trade, which means that retail trade did not make as many jobs because their demand is going down while supply is coming up, which means we should see a shift in inflation next month, Tim.
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing to look at, go to my screen, we do this now every morning. We had a massive shift this morning when it comes to the CME Futures prediction tool. Of course, those who've been watching the show day in and day out throughout this week, we had a leading indicator saying we were going to pause here and stay at 475 to 5, but I'm almost certain it has to be this data that just came out. We shot up, or a little bit earlier, we were sitting at 70%. Right now we're hovering at about 67.4%, saying we will have a 25 basis point hike. To be honest with you guys, I think it would be very nice. We still have 26 days until the FOMC meeting. I think it would be really nice to just go ahead and stay here, because even as we're doing this, looking at the Bitcoin chart real quickly, we're not necessarily dropping. Even the 4-hour chart at the moment is green. To price in a 25-point hike would be very, very nice. And that way, if we have a last second right before the May FOMC meeting, something turns and goes bullish and they go for a pause, or even, let's say, a cut, we've already priced in a 25-point hike, in which case this would be super bullish. I also want, as we're about to transition now, we're going to go into some TA. We might cover Bitcoin later. I don't think we're going to talk about too much Bitcoin this morning. I did want to say, as we introduce CVO again and we bring him on, CVO, have you noticed a very annoying thing here on TradingView, and maybe some of the rest of you guys know what I'm talking about here? If I zoom in down here, have you guys noticed the log button is just gone? This is very, very annoying. To be able to access log, you actually never will know if you're in log or regular. You have to click that little button right there and then slide up, and you have to manually change it this way. So it's an extra step to actually change from linear to log chart. Absolutely stupid. Very annoying to me. CVO, have you noticed this, and what are your thoughts?
Well, at least down here in the dungeon on Windows 7, it still shows up on my screen. So
Nice.
Just don't update, you know. But yeah, no, I haven't had that issue. I still have it showing up. I have seen some mention it. Maybe they're just doing some beta testing.
Maybe.
But that would be annoying.
I don't know what I just did to my computer screen. I go to my screen real quick, Piper. I lost my whole right side, and I don't know how to get it back.
Oh,
what did I do?
Just drag it back in.
I
touch the edge and drag it back in.
All right, I'm gonna play with this here in a second. Let's go off my screen now. You're gonna get into the real stuff here with CVO, and I want to start off before we actually go into and talk about ADA and go into other things. I want to get your overall thoughts, CVO. What are your views on the market at the moment? Do you think a bull market is actually starting, and are we about to see an altcoin season? Do you think that we're actually about to get rejected and hit some lows for the year? Or do you think this is potentially just a pre-bull market rally? This is what I've kind of described it as, my opinion. This is a pre-bull market rally that we'll see a bull market come later on this year. What are your thoughts about the market as a whole right now, just from a macro view?
I mean, I think that we walked in Q1 of this year with obviously some fireworks. So, and we've been in a pretty decent rally and I guess bullish structure here from the lows. As far as like from now, just up only and never coming, you know, potentially for the low right now. Yeah, I think it could be in for, you know, I guess going forward. Does that mean we won't have something where we, rally up to, 40,000 range for Bitcoin, somewhere potentially in the $3,000 range for ETH, and then see a pretty sharp pullback into either the end of this year. Summertime is always offer up those sell in May, walk away scenarios, and it doesn't always have to be May necessarily. It's just the summertime in general. I'm in agreement. I think that, as far as saying, I think that the terms, because of how this market is, progressing, and don't get me wrong, I've played my fair share of kind of like heavily comparing previous cycles and 4-year timeframes and things like that. And I think that those are all still relevant to some degree. But I think as as the market evolves and then more, capital is injected into it, obviously, you're probably not going to see complete explosions all across the board like we have in 2017, which was obviously the most epic rally in some of these altcoins. Right. But we were only at 800 million or $800 billion market cap at the high. So as trillions start trickling in and things of that nature, I do think that we're going to have epic moves to the upside for these altcoins. So if the question is like an altcoin season, a short-term rally, however you want to word it, I think that we have some really big upside for alts, potentially depending on, large to mid cap to low cap. Obviously there's different upside potential, but I think we have like 100 to 300%, possibilities across the board in altcoins over the next couple of months. And then, obviously after moves like that, we do get the pullback. Does that mean we're going back below 15K into, new lows? I don't know. Not necessarily super subscribed to that, but at the same time, just going to continue to, kind of gauge it as we go and take the information as it comes, I suppose.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, speaking of epic rallies, previous bull markets, and explosive movements, we got to talk about ADA this morning. It was the leader of the last bull market, or at least when it comes to some of the bigger coins out there. It had a phenomenal 2020, 2021 bull run. But as of late, it has been a little bit confusing / aggravating, as it has not necessarily been doing the things that we thought it would do, despite the fact that it has some great tech and great ability to be integrated into the crypto space. What are you seeing on the ADA charts right now that would allow you to think very bullishly about ADA, or do you think there's a good chance that ADA has topped out for a little bit and we're going to potentially see new lows on that?
Yeah, so I'm just pulling this up for since the beginning of the year. Obviously, we've had a pretty nice move. Once again, it's down substantially. It was actually one of the few 100x gainers in the last bull run. So you are right there. And then things like Chainlink. It's not. I guess the thing I just want to start off with, it's not just Cardano. It's a ton of coins out there, a ton of projects that. Every XRP holder, I'm sure, can attest to, being bored, I suppose, in the price action. As far as taking a look with Cardano, I do think that we have a pretty big move coming up for a large cap. It's not, 10x right off the rip or anything like that. But in the immediate term here, we're literally just ranging through the quarter one range here from this year. I got some key levels marked out. So as far as a short-term movement here, I do think I do lean towards the market continuing up. Ethereum, pushing past 2K, Bitcoin pushing up and past 30K a bit here. So with that being said, we have to imagine and assume that the altcoins are going to continue up with that. The thing is, at the moment is, we have seen a 70% push up, and it's all about finding entries at the moment, right, on these pullbacks. So for me, we were kind of talking a little bit before. We were looking at 36 cents. I believe you had a level coming in around that region. At the moment, it really is just range bound. Potentially we just, rotated the range from low to high. In theory, you're, targeting back down to the point of control. There's an untapped quarterly pivot, which is a high time frame statistical target. This comes with a 70 to 80% hit rate that we're going to come back to this in the current session. So during this quarter, at some time. And then you got the value area low. So you got your range low coming in here about 33 cents. And then a local gold pocket from this low to high aligns with that as well. So as far as some short-term areas for potential entries, these are things that I would mark out. After that, losing that level, I think they will probably challenge back in, the March 23 low. As far as any upside at the moment, a key area to see claimed is going to be this weekly open. And that's at 38 cents. So that's for this week, obviously, and that'll change. A little bit more of a safer play, I suppose, would be the month open. And then at that point too, you're creeping up and you're looking at this overall range high. So if we were to start seeing things like this, I think that people would really want to be looking at this in a pretty decent area with the idea here that, we could start seeing this continue up. You can already imagine most are drawing out this little head and shoulders right here, which has legs at the moment because we are still within the range. These are getting real squiggly here.
Mm-hmm.
And, with a measured move on that, breakout takes you where? Right back down to that point of control, into that quarterly pivot, right, that 36-cent region. So for me, this is a big area to look for as far as a spot move would be if you're looking to add a little bit more to a bag potentially. But you got to be aware of what's below us at that point. That's as far as a day trade or a swing trade, that's a diddle in the middle scenario. But it's, for a spot, buying and holding for a few weeks, few months, that's potentially where, you could come down and get a pretty decent reaction. But yeah, in the short term, looking to really just break out of this range. We got the Q4 22 high would be the next key level I'd be looking for. It's about 44 cents. You basically come back up towards, what is that, the October. So probably your Q4. Oh yeah, that is your Q4 high, obviously. So yeah, come in, claim that region. Simple two targets after that. There's a macro gold pocket here at about 51 cents. And then we got the yearly pivot, which is the average of price of last year, comes in at 70. So when looking at this as well, and let's just pretend we just shoot straight up right now. It's about an 80%, 86, almost 100% move. If we do get the little pullback, towards that quarterly pivot first, that potentially turns that into a 100% move. This region, though, I would not, just be blindly buying into if we reach it, and then I'd be taking profits at this region for a short-term pullback if we get up to it. And one of the reasons being, that's, you're basically coming back to your average of price. There's going to be, some defense, some moves defended here. You would essentially look over to here. You're going to take all the highs on the way up. So this recipe for a nice short comes into play. And then if we're looking at an old quarterly range as well, you'll note that we basically are, when you enter these ranges, key is you get the reclaim. So once again, if we're looking at that Q4, that's a really nice safe play to assume we're going to continue upward from here. You'd be back in a previous range. You got your, point of control comes in just above here, but there's that local gold pocket. I'm sorry, that macro gold pocket. You got the EQ of the range. And then essentially you'd be targeting to rotate it to the high with that quarterly pivot coming in. I would imagine we get that little push up, and then we'd be looking for a potential back test here. And then we could very well just rotate this range all the way back down. And if that was the case, that would be a potential and that's just speculative, obviously at the moment, but that would be how I would, kind of plan this at the moment and see how things start to unfold. Obviously, if we were to see something like that, that puts us in the middle of May, just off my squiggle. So take that for what it's worth. And then if you're looking at a summer pullback, that makes a lot of sense, right? So 70 cents is my target here for Cardano in the near future. I'm interested to see what you got on there, Tim, as well.
Yeah, that actually makes a whole lot of sense, especially just talking about the detail of the 100% up. And that has to go with, one of the predictions that I've made here on this channel. We'll see if it comes true or not. I think there's a decent chance it will. We'll have to wait on a couple of things. But what I'm predicting is a Bitcoin run up into $50,000. And just kind of walking through this, those who have been watching the channel know one of my reasons for this is how similar the market looks right now to what we had back in 2019 coming out of the bear market of 2018. We had a run up all the way to the golden pocket. At the time, that would have put it around the upper $6,000 levels. And then there was a 50% pullback. And what happened during that time also was something that's not a bull market characteristic. It's just a rally characteristic. Bitcoin actually pretty much led the space. It outpaced Ethereum and outpaced definitely Cardano. It outpaced pretty much every altcoin out there. And we know bull markets traditionally, we see altcoins outpace Bitcoin. We see the Bitcoin dominance start to fall. Usually it's in bear markets or sideways movements that Bitcoin picks up dominance. But during that whole rally back in 2019, Bitcoin picked up dominance, right? So if Bitcoin were to rally up to 50,000, that's roughly a little bit less than where we are currently at a 100% increase, right? If we were to go back down to 25,000, that's a 100% increase. That kind of fits just in line with what we're talking about here in Cardano and what we thought about Ethereum. We've talked about the Ethereum getting anywhere between 3,000 to 3,600. Cardano going 100% up to 70%. Guess what that would mean? Just as I predicted, it's a rally. It's a bull trend. everything goes up by pretty much 100%, but it's not a bull market, because if everything goes up 100%, obviously a lot more money flowed into Bitcoin than to altcoins just by looking at the market cap. And therefore, we will watch the Bitcoin dominance continue to climb. And that's the confirmation. This is not the bull market. Just like you said right there, I don't think it would be that weird at all for Cardano to climb up to 70 cents, reject at 70 cents, and come back down to where we currently are, maybe even a little bit lower, before a real bull market starts. And that's when we can talk about real explosive movements. So everything you're saying here, CVO, right in line with what we've been talking about on this channel, just continues to prove to show there's different ways of doing it. Every single analyst has their own way of looking at the charts. But in reality, the charts, you see the same thing. We're seeing the same thing. Technical analysts have the same points. Even the bears, like, it's funny, like the people that disagree with us on a more macro view and they think we're in different levels, they still have similar levels and similar rationale for things above and below that we do. So it's kind of nice to see that confirmation. That's a good thought on Cardano. What about XRP? Let's move on to another altcoin that I know that is very, very polarizing right now. A lot of people love it. Some people are still skeptical. What are you seeing on the XRP charts? And we did just have a little bit of a rally that's kind of calmed down. Is that going to continue to move to the upside? What are your thoughts about that?
So yeah, and I'm inclined to agree. I focus a heavy side on Ethereum and obviously the altcoins compared to Bitcoin. So I leave Bitcoin up to Magic in the group. But ETH to 3K region, in the road to get there is obviously the question, because you can very easily see a push up to get up above 2200, back below. You got to get those little washouts on late entries, and that's the real big key right now, is trying to find a decent entry, because if you come in on these rallies, or if you start panicking at the low, it's just mind game after mind game, and then overall you look back 3 months later and it's like, wow, if I just would have chilled or got in and just held it, it reaches your targets. But I'm in the same boat. I don't know where Bitcoin, it would end up in that run, but I do look for Ethereum pushing up. And then with that, if that's the case, obviously the altcoins are going to see a pretty decent move. And just coming from the previous bear markets myself, I'm very aggressive on taking profits and looking for pullbacks, and especially in these times, I don't anticipate us to just continue, just blow out of this region for anything, and then just continue on, to new highs. You'll maybe have that one that one random Matic, or that one random, quant, or what was the chain link, where you get that, brand new all-time high, and then, it excites the market and everybody starts piling in, thinking things are going to start popping. But I don't think it's going to be across the board. As far as XRP goes, very nice trading channel, very technical. One thing I don't necessarily subscribe to a lot of the news, and for the reason of, I just feel as at your highest points, the news is always great. At the lowest points, the news is always terrifying. Yes, I think that there's correlation and you can utilize it. You guys do a very good job of, kind of keeping up on all the, higher, the macro news and things of that nature. I guess what I'm really pointing out is like media news, where when we came up to this point right here, this was September last year, there was no news around it. And it was just, a very technical move. And I'll show you here in a second what it was. It was just basically a range rotation. If we go back to that quarter, and all we did was rotate low right to the high. And the news at the moment, or the word on the street, was that it was a rumor that the SEC was dropping the lawsuit, and then how many people do you think piled in XRP or got really excited and didn't take profits if you were already in, right? And that's the key. And I know it's hard to say take profits on something that potentially everybody got in at the highs and you're down so much. But the way you can build your portfolio up a little bit more is, capitalizing on these rallies up. And then looking for those pullbacks, because even if you didn't get it all right, that's a 60% move up. And then your buying power, if you were to take some off the table and wait for a potential 40% pull, you're doubling your buying power at that point for the long haul. So, it's something to be aware of. Obviously, that's, depends on your strategy and how you want to do things. And it's going to take a lot of keeping up with the market and things of that nature. So, but we had a really nice move up here, and then we just basically rotated back down. On top of that, Chainlink and XRP are very similar to me in a sense, and I think we're going to get a pretty similar move out of Chainlink that we just got out of XRP, and we can talk about that one too if you'd like. But looking at this as far as just a big range that this has been taking over a year to really resolve from, right? Like we got the deviation obviously here. We just went over what that was during the time. right back into the lows here, swept the lows. You know, at this day right here, I think it was looked at as a flash crash. And all it was you're coming down, take your quarterly lows, rotate the range once again, back to point of control, finally get the breakout. What you'll notice here, though, is that all this volume, this is a lot, and this is a lot of time. So when you finally get these breaks, it's not a move necessarily you want to fade on the way up and wholesome, right? Because I'm sure most people were trying to short this as soon as we came above this little level right here, which was about 43 cents. And when you zoom in here, what did we do? So kind of zoom it into a little bit of a lower time frame. And this initial move right here, you got the break, ran it all the way up to this quarterly key level, which is a pivot. So this is an average of price on the way up. Got the rejection, nice pullback, back test the range. So very similar to when you have a falling wedge or inverse head and any kind of a pattern. You want to look for that bullish or bearish back test. Got that really nicely here, and then obviously up and off to the races. And this is one of the few projects that's actually managed to run up to that yearly average. So we had that untapped yearly pivot was a major target as we came into the year, 51 cents. You can see it was basically ran up, claimed. The next area that I'm looking for XRP to really get above is going to be 54 cents. Most will start looking for the highs, obviously. That's basic structure that if you get above the high, you're going to continue up. From where we are right this moment, and just in a smaller, just to kind of start getting some lines in the sand. Yearly pivot, you live above it, good things go on. Obviously, we're below it at the moment, and that starts at 52 cents. So set an alert on your chart. You can do that on the app. You can do it obviously on the website as well. Come over, tick the little plus, add an alert. That's going to send you a text or an email, however you end up sending it. And you want to see something along these lines where you come up, start closing candles above. We're going to probably target back into this region right here. Major quarterly level. The reason I put that on there is if you zoom out to the 3-month time frame, you can see how much this has played a role over a year, right? So not only was it the low here, you could see wick below, close right here, wicks into it, wicks above. Major level comes in right at about 55 cents. If we clear through that, then I'm looking up towards this 70 cent region here. So 70 cents for Cardano and XRP. How about that? But yeah, looking into 70 cents at that point, we'll see how things kind of look. It's not necessarily a grand move from where we are right now. It's about a 40% push. So, when looking at other things pushing up about 100%, things of that nature, if that's a possibility, you do have to remember that XRP, would be up 100 from the recent push up. So not that that's necessarily, you can't just percentages are going to be equivalent across the whole market, but that's just something to be aware of. This is a big target. I think that if we come into it, potentially look for another pullback. And I believe we'll probably end up ranging around still for a little bit more. And then things change, obviously, if we start to claim above that. And, then we can reevaluate. But that's how I would be trading this on the way up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think and with XRP, I think that's a great call you're making right there. First of all, it's also the line, that level of significance at 54 cents. I cannot overemphasize to people how important it's going to be. At the moment, we're on the downside of it. We're beneath it. So it is being used as resistance. But if we get a clean breakup with some closes above there, even a pullback that down and turns it back into support, people need to understand how significant that would be for XRP. My also thoughts about XRP, as you mentioned, my view on charts in general is I think that charts tell the story and news really helps, and charts tell you the significance of news. And every time you start getting back towards support or resistance levels, it's like, all right, what are we waiting for in the news now? Because we're getting back to these levels, and they're going to try to manipulate this space again. I think XRP is a weird one for me, an outlier, because it is going to be such a polarizing topic, especially with everything happening right now. I think part of the reason why we will see a rally in crypto has to do with bank issues. Well, what altcoin out there potentially has the most in touch with fixing some of those bank issues? XRP has been accused of being a banker's coin. People actually, I used to be in this group. People did not like it because it was referred to as the banker's coin that helps banks have the power. That's not really how it works, but it would be a great solution for banks who are struggling. Also, of course, with this lawsuit, every single time we get some sort of bullish narrative about this lawsuit, the price goes up. If there's any type of gain that the SEC makes, the price goes down. We are still hoping that we're seeing resolution to that lawsuit very soon. And again, especially if I'm right about how the sentiment will look and banks continue to have problems, watch XRP be one of the outliers that doesn't necessarily fall. It might actually outpace Bitcoin and Ethereum and others because it's so important to where we are currently in our economy here in the United States and where the world is right now. Because, by the way, it's not just the United States that are having all these problems and banks are being crushed and going away. It's worldwide right now with traditional finance. Would not be surprised, especially with good news from the SEC plus the bank struggling, if XRP has a special place in this next market. But we will have to see. Before we let you go, before we transition away and get into some stories here, what other altcoins? You mentioned Link. Do we want to take a check on the Link chart right now? We did that a couple of days ago on our channel, but I'd love to hear what you're looking at on Link, because that's one that I'm a little bullish on right now as well.
Yeah, let's take a look at. Like I said, I got a really nice comparison when looking at what we just saw out of XRP. So we could take a look at that for sure. And not sure if it's on here or not. There it is. Okay. So very similar structure here. I mean, Chainlink, XRP, I think Sushi's. I mean, there's a ton of coins that have obviously been just completely very tightly range bound. And I say tight, I mean, this is a big range. This is like 80% from low to high. So it's not necessarily just completely, 10% bounces and just holding. But you got a really big structure here. And this goes back to, I think, May of last year, April of last year. So this is a 1 year range. Once again, similar to XRP, huge volume. I mean, exactly what you want to see. Basically, you got that nice bell-shaped volume right here. When this breaks, probably wouldn't fade it, right? This is going to be a strong move to the upside. Once again, very similar to XRP. You got a nice local high right here. I'm sure if that comes up and meets that shortly, everybody's going to start trying to enter a short. You'll probably want, you'll see everything kind of getting a decent move at that point. I would imagine, Chainlink's not just going to push up 20% without the rest of the market. So we'll see how things progress if it happens. But, I'm looking just for, we got a quarterly level at 757. The overall range high, comes in at that point after there. And, when looking at this, you could go both ways, obviously. And I know everybody hates to hear that. And that's just really what's important about kind of keeping up with things, setting alerts and, monitoring it and, changing if you have to. But with like I said, I lean a little bit more towards, we're probably going to see a little bit of upside before we get any downside in the near future. And I mean, look at how clean this is across the board. Highs all intact. What's right above it? You could very well do one of these exact moves where we run it up, hit the quarterly level, very similar to what we just did with XRP, right? You had this quarterly right here where we came up to, swept it, came all the way back down, back test the range high. So it was a decent pullback. So once again, getting all the late longs that entered this region, stop them out, boom, run it back, and finally come through your target. On Link, what that would look like is something of this nature, right? Come up, stop all the shorts, possible pullback all the way back down. And this is just speculative at this point, right? They're looking for the levels as they come, but this is an idea here that you'd see if you get to this region here, not where you want to buy, right? You want to see if we get this pullback. Potentially you have like a gold pocket probably that lines up in that region, give or take. But yeah, looking for see if we come back down, hold that as support, and then claim the quarterly key level here, which is once again quarterly pivot on the way up. And then we've got the yearly pivot and the macro gold pocket lining up together right at about $13.50 to $14. So similar to where, if we're pushing at 70 cents for Cardano, if we're pushing at 70 cents XRP, I would imagine Chainlink's going to be up here. And from where we are right now, potential 100 80, 90% move. Not as sexy as, some of the altcoins tend to go 200, 300%. And everybody wants to get those major moves. But these are really major moves in any kind of asset. And like I said, as the market starts to, evolve, like, these are 100% now is like what we used to see when we got those 300% pushes, especially with a large cap like Link, something that's been pretty much compressed this long. I think that we have a really, really good opportunity to run it up to that region. So I'm interested to see what you got, Tim.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day. I'll do this really quickly. Go to my screen here, Piper. So what I was tracking here, this is you can tell me if you disagree with this, but this coin has been a trader's probably like dream right now. Over the last, ever since back in May of 2022, this flat channel, traders love this volatility. By the way, it wasn't even just like 30%, 40%. This volatility of a channel it spanned over 70%. As he mentioned, hit the wrong button there. Got to get rid of that one. As he mentioned before, we have nice 3 touches right there, flat levels of resistance. We have multiple touches right here down on support. As we're coming down every single time in the early stages, we kept getting high volume lows. The fact that the last couple have been low volume, to me, is a bullish sign. I think it's saying that we're getting close to the end. Traditionally, when you look at these channels, what I'm looking at right now, not only is an ascending triangle we're kind of sitting in right now. This is what we discussed on my show the other day with our extra portion. We have rising levels of support here on the 4-hour chart, flat level tops. This would give us a breakout back up into this resistance level, 943, and then it becomes decision point. Let's go back out to the daily chart. When you're looking at these channels, traditionally, the way you would trade these channels is you say, all right, what was the top of the channel? What was the bottom of the channel? So we kind of set this pace right here. If we get a breakout, so what he's talking about, what CVO is talking about, if we can see a break above about $9.70 or so, and we start heading towards that quarterly pivot up above $10, well, what you really should do is then continue to watch and see a potential breakout for Link that could go all the way up here to $13.90, because that is how these consolidation channels end up breaking in the long run. You guys can see our daily dynamic reactor here on Chart Prime, nice and leveling out, flattening out. It's time. It's starting to slowly start to creep back up. So don't be surprised to see that price do just that with this dynamic reactor kind of making a nice U shape coming back up. So I'm in complete agreement with you as well. To me, Link is, again, it's been a trader's dream to watch that sideways channel, that consolidation channel. Watch for these next couple breakouts. Things could get very interesting for Link. I believe. I don't know if Link's going to be like one of the most special coins overall, but I definitely think there's going to be money to be making it in this next bull market. And this, again, this move we're talking about here, this could happen prematurely even before the bull market, just because of how low it has been this entire market. When money starts flowing back into Link, it could go crazy. That's my opinion. So what are your thoughts about that, CVO?
I mean, that measured move lines up right with that yearly pivot, 1380, gold pocket, and like I said, if we're gonna see some of these moves out of ETH, and that's just the thing. It's just it really is an if game. You really have to be prepared for both sides, and then to go sideways, right? That's really what it is. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that if we're gonna get some excitement in the market, I think that we can see these areas. Thing is that Chainlink hasn't really done anything exciting, hasn't been a news a media label for a while. So when you see $13, let's just say, for example, comes up, that's when people start getting excited, people start piling in, you got breakouts and this, and like I said, just be aware that more than likely, if we come up to some of these targets, we're probably going to get a substantial drawdown, because if we're going to be hitting, we're already in about a 4-month rally at this point. Let's just pretend we run into May and June before we get that, if we get these levels and then we get a pullback, that's a pretty big rally as far as percentage goes and time. So a pullback in summertime, I mean, that's just generally how the market goes anyway. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Which, by the way, just so you guys know, I didn't even do this. This price we're talking about, a $13.90, $13.80 Link, that's about an 83% move. Guess what that lines up with? Kind of what we're talking about here. If Bitcoin goes up close to 100, Ethereum 100, 8800, maybe XRP, maybe a little more than that, but Link, this is not a ridiculous, like, hey, this is this isn't like a obnoxious claim. This is actually goes right along. It continues that narrative of we could see crypto have a very nice summer before a late summer crash. So be watching these points on your way while you're doing all your TA. Before I let you go, though, CVO, thank you so much, man, for coming on with us today. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on here. Anything you want to leave our audience with before you go?
Always a pleasure, man. I'm really, like I said, a big fan of the new show. I think you and T-Shroom and Piper are doing a great job. Pleasure to be here. Hope to see you guys again soon. And I just want to point out what something comical is that last year in April, we got a pretty big pullback in the market. Year before that, May, you always get these, and it's almost an ongoing deal, and it's interesting to see. But that Bitcoin conference is a pretty high statistical hit rate for nailing the rally highs, and Last year was one of the only times it was in April. Market topped in April. This year it's in May. I don't know. So just will be fun to see how that transpires. But thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to hopefully being back soon.
Awesome. Make sure you guys go follow him on Twitter. There's a link right down below in the description. And you guys can see right below his name there at CVO_crypto. Make sure you're following him over on Twitter. We'll have him on again very, very soon. Great stuff there. If you guys loved that, again, we have over 100 people watching. I think at one point we were like at 164. So thank you to every single person who's tuning in this morning. Go ahead and smash that like button. We got 71 likes, so we definitely can get that above 100. I think would be safe to say at least 50 people watching right now that have not smashed that like button. And then I would also say there's probably, I would say maybe 10 people who have not subscribed to the Investing Bros channel just yet. Go ahead. It comes for the free price of free. You can smash the like every day. You can subscribe. You can hit that notification bell. You can comment, and it doesn't charge you a single thing. Go ahead and do that right now. We're going to transition, get a really quick look at the stocks from T Shroom, and then we'll transition into some news stories. So T Shroom, go ahead and take it away.
Absolutely, Tim. Well, let's take a look here, guys. It's looking like the markets are wanting to open green here. We are about 15 minutes about 15 minutes into the market.
No markets today.
That's right. Yeah. It's Good Friday.
Yeah, and that is actually what I was noticing is the numbers are not moving at all.
All right.
Just dead still. So yesterday, there's not much to report other than yesterday the index is closed up.
That makes it really easy to be a short stock market open.
That's right. So this is in observance of Good Friday. We can check metals. Let's see if metals are even moving. I'm not really sure. They might not be.
I don't think so.
Interesting. It's just crypto and currencies then. No, I think, interesting. Okay. Well, then we'll slide right on into,
futures have movement today.
Yeah. And that's what I was wondering why silver's not moving, because silver, I believe this is a contract, but it's in the premium now. Looking on the daily, silver's up in the premium now, closed yesterday. Looking like it's probably going to have a tough time getting through that premium range. But I mean, there's no sense in continuing.
Yeah. Well,
then on the markets here, again, closed for Good Friday. You are seeing red on the screen for crypto. The only green name there is XRP. So XRP leading the market this morning higher, and Dogecoin leading it lower, down 3.39. Well, we'll have plenty of time to deliberate then today on some of these stories. We'll start off with those stories in just a second. But first, 14 hours, guys. The talk is ticking. Tick tock, tick tock.
The talk is ticking.
The talk is ticking. And so is the clock. Yes, 14 hours for you to get a discount on joining the most important conversation in crypto and Web3. That is Consensus. The big event there in Austin, Texas, from April 26th to the 28th. Piper's going to be there. And then I think that Tim and I are going to be there. Yes, we are. We're going to be there. Piper's absolutely going to be there in his full radiance and splendor. So that'll be really exciting. But you got 14 hours before the price goes up for these tickets. But if you're looking to go ahead and lock them in at a lower rate, you can see this is our video. You just open up Show More. You go down to the last promo link here in Partner Links, and it is there, right there. Using the code word BROS, you can actually get 15% off your tickets to Consensus. How about that? That's a lot of value, folks. I'm very excited to see anybody who's able to make it out there to the convention in Austin, Texas. And what are those dates? The dates are the 26th to the 28th of April this month. We are excited.
Yeah.
All right. Moving into some of the stories.
Well, a couple of announcements. We need to make sure. So I will not be here Monday and Tuesday. So I want to make sure people know this. We're going to cover here. Well, we got 118 people watching, so good time to cover. I will not be here Monday and Tuesday, but T Shroom and Piper will be running the show. And also for all of our audience that owns Chart Prime, if you do not own Chart Prime, you definitely want to use our link down below and get 45% off your first month or your first quarter. It is absolutely a game-changing tool. You'll see us use a lot more of it here in about 15 minutes when we do more TA. But there are some updates coming. So make sure you guys are tuning in and paying attention in the Discord over there on Chart Prime, because it is going to be the indicator of this next bull market. It is going to be phenomenal. It is going to change the way you trade. And one of the reasons why is because there's so many cool updates that are coming, but make sure you guys are staying tuned for that each and every single day. So you want to definitely, not only if you have it, use it, but also be in that Discord and stay active because a lot of announcements come. It seems like every single day there's a brand new update that makes it bigger and better. So yeah, want to make sure you guys know that. Now we can go ahead and transition to news talk.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's get into a little bit of news here. On my screen, we're going to start off with this story. Is France's pending social media ban on crypto even enforceable? So let's get into some of these details here. Recently, French lawmakers proposed an amendment to Bill 790 that would criminalize promoting crypto on social media. The amendment proposes a 2-year prison sentence and a $32,000 fine for violators. France's ban seeks to address these concerns by blocking exposure to crypto-related risks without proper diligence or supervision. You got a nice little picture of Paris there. How pleasant, how nice. Moving on, got to be clear, the bill does not ban promoting all crypto assets, just ones that are not licensed. So they're looking to get licenses going on over there in France so that they can go ahead and vet these cryptos that they want to then be available on social media promotion. The rub is that currently not a single crypto-based company in France has a license. Additionally, the hurdles involved to obtaining a permit from the Autorité des Marchés Financiers, the national market regulators, are still unclear. So nobody's got a license. So that means that all crypto would be banned from being promoted. A couple more details, and then I'll throw it over to Piper for a question. But as with big tech, crypto companies will move to places with more welcoming laws and tax breaks, and influencers will either move out of the country or continue to post what they wish through proxy. So, Piper, kind of what is your conclusion on this? What is your analysis on this? Is this even something that's enforceable from an internet infrastructure standpoint? And if it was enforceable, how silly would this be for France to pass a bill like this?
So I think it's a little ludicrous in my opinion, but we are talking. I've served with French. There's a lot of uptight people in France, so I can imagine in their leadership of the military. So I can imagine that their politicians are the same way, very uptight about things. Don't really have any, for being a liberal country, they have very conservative thinking when it comes to what they think should be allowed and what shouldn't be allowed. So almost the mirror version of what we think of as liberal and conservative in America in Europe is actually the opposite. So because when you have a lot of strict laws and strict rules and stuff, that's not really liberal mindset, that's conservative mindset over there. So but I don't think it's enforceable. I think that I mean, how many YouTubers are in France? First off, in crypto, I'd like to know that question. But I know Coin Bureau is huge over there because of Corner Office. But but I don't know that they have. I don't know that they have that many YouTubers over there. But I think anytime that you try to control what people can promote or market or what they can be involved in without an understanding of what you're trying to restrict, you're just getting into, we have liberal and conservatism. Europe has socialism and fascism. There you go. So I think that when you get into that, is that it is you're stifling innovation without knowledge, and that's ignorance. So I don't think that it's feasible. I don't think it's feasible at all.
Okay. Well, I want to throw it over to you, Tim. Are you ready to move over to France? You can finally escape all the crypto talk and just live completely benign and completely ignorant.
Dystopian.
I mean, no offense to any person with French family or lives in France or loves France, but this gets added to a long list of reasons why I would not want to move to France. Maybe visit one day. We shall see. That is not on the top of my bucket list. But here's the reality of what's happening here. We have to understand. I think it's actually wrong for crypto enthusiasts to dismiss thoughts as being ridiculous without at least understanding, grasping, and appreciating what's coming out. And then the only way to effectively dismantle this types of thinking is to understand the rationale that went into the thinking. How much crime has happened, how much hacking has happened, how much misinformation has happened with people who really have no idea what they're talking about promoting cryptocurrency. It's happened a lot. People have lost billions of dollars. When you look at everyone who's lost money in crypto, billions of dollars have been lost due to misinformation and lack of any regulation whatsoever, right? So we have to start to have any type of good debate or conversation or disagreement. You have to come from a place of, I understand what you're getting at and I understand why you're doing this. If you just call people that disagree with you ridiculous and don't even seek to see what they're saying, you'll never find any type of common ground to create common sense rule. The ridiculous nature of this is they can't enforce it. The second part of this is again, it's a slippery slope. Whether they mean to do this or not, for them to say you have to be licensed to promote cryptocurrency means that whether they do this or not in the future, they will very, very, very much be able to they themselves will be able to manipulate what is promoted in the crypto world via CBDCs, via any new coins that are created that have more centralized features. So it's one of those things. It's like, hey, I understand, France, why you're thinking this way. I understand what you're trying to get rid of, but can we stop for a second and realize how terrible this would be if this actually went through? We need to come up with something else. We're not saying regulation doesn't need to happen. We're not saying we need to find a way to crack down on scams and misinformation in the crypto space, but a full out, you have to be licensed with the state to do it. That's not the answer. So that's my first thought there. What was my second thought? I had it, but I might have lost it. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and leave it right there. Nate Crypto Dog did say, where's Smay? Smay, we love Smay. He told me he had a surprise for me last week, and then he never showed up and gave me my surprise. But Smay's doing good. He has a job doing some production for another education company. He was just kind of in a state where he wanted to step away from crypto for a second, but maybe someday he'll be back. Maybe he'll come on the show. We love him. He's doing great, though. It was time for him to flap his wings and find a new venture, and he's doing great. He's living his life.
Yeah, he is living his life.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I appreciate the feedback on that French article from the both of you, Piper and Tim.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. I know what I was going to say, and this doesn't have to go with France. I wonder if you're going to see a lot of countries. Oh man, this is a good point. I don't know why I forgot it. I think you're going to see a lot of countries have crazy regulation on crypto. They realize it's not enforceable.
Yeah.
In the United States, we tried to do this with alcohol. I don't know how many people are watching that were alive during this period, but like, when was the period? What was the exact date of this period? I don't remember. We tried to ban alcohol.
Prohibition period?
Prohibition, yeah.
I'm going to look it up.
It was in the 1900s, but they literally tried to ban alcohol, and what ended up happening was people just kept creating alcohol in their own houses, and then people were dying because, it was an improper way of making it. But it did not. If anything, it accelerated. It accelerated.
Yeah, like 100 years ago.
Okay,
1920 to 1933.
I don't want to discriminate. Is there anybody watching the show right now that was alive during the Prohibition? The answer is probably no, but I don't want to just assume.
My grandmother watches, apparently.
We could have a couple of 100
Granny,
year olds
I think she was alive. I think she may have been alive.
Listen, if anyone would appreciate cryptocurrency, it might be people who lived through ages like that.
Yeah.
But my point with this is, could we see crypto be almost the exact same way? To where it's like the more they actually try to ban it, the more attractive it is about going the roundabout ways. And that's the other thing, is that like it might just raise crime in general, but people are not going to stop using cryptocurrency. It is here to stay. I mean, look at all the businesses that are using it. Blockchain technology is out. It is hot. People love it. Companies love it. And the best thing for governments to do is to work with it rather than try to work against it. So watch countries like this do things like that and try to ban crypto in one way or another, and it's going to backfire on them, and it's going to get even worse in their country.
Yep.
We did have a super chat too.
We did. It was from NMCT saying, I have a bag of ADA, but I'm worried that ADA acts like more of a social experiment than a replacement for financial services. What are your thoughts? You know what? Let's keep moving with the stories, but we will remember this one. Let's talk about this one here in a couple of minutes after stories are done during our Q&A section. But thank you, NMCT, and this will be the first topic here in just a couple of minutes.
That's a good decision. Speaking of good decisions, back on my screen, there's a U.S. presidential candidate who opposes the Fed's CBDC plans and says it will pave way for banning and seizing Bitcoin. So this is an angle of the CBDC that I have not heard before. We're going to get into this in detail. We're gonna really linger and
Lingle. We're gonna lingle
and let it marinate here on this story for sure, guys. So in a lengthy message, Robert E. Kennedy, who recently announced
wow,
that is
an F.
That is an F. Robert, I got an F in reading the letter F.
Wow.
I'm going to start over. In a lengthy message, Robert F. Kennedy, who recently announced that he is running in the 2024 presidential campaign as a Democrat, says that the government's plans for a CBDC grease the slippery slope to financial slavery and political tyranny. So those are some pretty harsh words to start off these details here.
Can we put pause and just say, not that I'm going to try to give any type of support to him, but like, I love that he uses the term slippery slope.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites.
It's a good, it's a nice little gadget there.
He gets, I don't know about the rest of his policy, but he gets an A from Tim on the use case of slippery slope. So you can continue.
Excellent. He goes on to say, while cash transactions are anonymous, a CBDC will allow the government to surveil all private financial affairs. The central bank will have the power to enforce dollar limits on our transactions, restricting where you can send money, where you can spend it, and when money expires. So not too much new there. If you've been in the crypto space, you probably know a good amount of those details. He also goes on to mention digital IDs and social credit scores, saying a CBDC tied to digital ID and credit score will allow the government to freeze your assets or limit your spending to approve vendors if you fail to comply with the arbitrary dictates vaccine mandates. Dictatus, I think there might be some Latin there I'm missing. But comparing it to the vaccines, interesting and pretty radical, I'd say. The Fed will initially limit its CBDC to interbank transactions, but we should not be blind to the obvious danger that this is the first step in banning and seizing Bitcoin, as the Treasury did with gold 90 years ago today in 1933. We were just talking about that year. That was the year that the prohibition was lifted, and they went ahead and banned gold the same year. Very interesting. I think that was FDR that did that. Watch as governments which never let a good crisis go to waste use COVID-19 and the banking crisis to usher in a new wave of CBDCs as a safe haven from germ-laden paper currencies or as protection against the bank run. So again, weaving in that COVID narrative into his rhetoric about CBDCs. So this is a political candidate, guys, here. So there's obviously some hyperbole, being used here, some sensationalist language. But I think that this does introduce a new idea that I had not considered that is kind of interesting, which is, could the CBDCs actually be a way, because we know that it would be very difficult for the government to ban Bitcoin straight up, right? But as CBDCs could be a way to seize Bitcoin, as the Treasury did with gold. So give us your Bitcoin in exchange for these CBDCs that are actually better. Maybe they'd make the claim of that. So what do you think, Piper? Do you think that Mr. Kennedy here is saying some things that's going to resonate with people? Or do you think that he's kind of isolating himself from the Democrats that he's trying to appeal to?
I think he's spewing rhetoric. We see this a lot with politicians. They get onto something that they know that there's a following out there. It's a new market for them to harness votes from. And does he have some decent points? Sure. But why have we not heard this from anyone else that's really smart in crypto? Because it's probably not the case. There's a lot of people out there way smarter than Robert F. Kennedy on crypto that have not put those two things together. He's not this crypto blockchain genius that went, aha, I see the long-term game here. It's to target Bitcoin. It's a lot of rhetoric. But, politicians are going to be politicians, and they're going to say what they need to say to get votes. And he's just trying to grab a new voter market. So,
yeah, I think you're making a great point. At least, though, it is refreshing because we talked about this before, especially when it comes to the populace. Crypto is not a partisan, it's not like a Republican or Democrat thing. It's not a conservative or liberal thing. It is bipartisan. Now, what we had been seeing recently is Democrats, that the more vocal Democrats, seeming to be anti-crypto, cough, cough, anti-Beth, cough, cough, Joe Biden. They have definitely been saying things that are leaning towards Elizabeth Warren literally said she's anti-crypto. Biden hasn't officially said that, but he's been saying things and doing things that would lead you down that path that he's potentially getting there. Obviously, I think you're right, Piper. This is a political move, but at least it's something that's nice to see. Potentially, a lot of things have to happen, but I don't know what the active number is, but I know Biden's approval rating is not sitting at all-time high. There's a very real chance that he might not be the Democratic nominee. We'll see what the Democratic Party wants to do with that. I think there's some people there that would very much like for someone else to take over the reins. Could it be Robert E. Kennedy? Probably not, because that guy doesn't exist, or at least not one running for president. It's going to be Robert F. Kennedy that's running. Could it be him, or could it be someone else? It's just good to see. I think that would be a problem if crypto became an individual, if it became a conservative thing or a Republican thing, and then all of a sudden every single Democrat just came out against it. I think that would be terrible. I love crypto being a bipartisan system.
Correct.
And I would love to see 2 presidential candidates, one Republican, one Democrat, who are both for the freedom of cryptocurrency. That would be a very good sign. Now, what are their views on other policies? That's still going to affect who I vote for and what I go for. But it would be very nice and reassuring as a crypto holder to say, at least I don't have to make this issue on I hate voting on one issue. I love seeing what is the complete package I get here, and then I'll make my choice. But especially where we're going in crypto, it's getting that spot where it's like if you're looking at 2 candidates, one is pro and one is anti, you're probably just going to have to go with the pro. And then it's like, well, I don't have to deal with all the stupid policies that come with that person as well. It's like, it would be nice to have good choices and not have to worry about my crypto as well. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Well, Zero Hedge is bringing to our attention 2 stories that I'm not really seeing covered anywhere else in the media today. So, and that's not that uncommon. Zero Hedge usually breaks kind of more underground and less publicized stories. So we'll cover this first one here. Texas bill would create state-issued gold-backed digital currency. Does it have a chance is kind of the question we're asking here, but let's get into the details before we count it off from the start. The legislation would require the state comptroller to establish a digital currency that is fully backed by gold and fully redeemable in cash or gold as well. The comptroller would also be required to create a mechanism to use this gold-backed digital currency in everyday transactions. And then a quote from some Professor William Green, an expert on constitutional tender, said the following: over time, as residents of the state use both federal notes and silver and gold coins, the fact that the coins hold their value more than the federal notes do will lead to a reserve Gresham's law effect. Goodness, where good money, gold and silver, will drive out bad money, federal notes. As this happens, a cascade of events can begin to occur, including the flow of real wealth towards the state's treasury, an influx of banking business from outside the state, as people in other states carry out their desire to bank with sound money, and an eventual outcry against the use of Federal Reserve notes for any transactions. Well, so this is actually probably the juiciest bite here of this news feast that we've got going on, I'd say. And Piper, I want to throw it over to, well, actually we start with Piper every time. Tim, I want to throw it over to you. Is this a good idea? Because nowhere in this is included Bitcoin. Is this a good idea for Texas? Could it pass? And would it be ultimately good for the Texas citizens, as William Green, professor of constitutional law, thinks it might be?
I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I think at this point, it doesn't matter as long as there's freedom. We know Texas is very pro Bitcoin. Obviously, they stopped giving out those minor advantages simply because they filled up. They didn't need to give any more. Mm-hmm. That's not Texas turning their back on Bitcoin. That's just saying, hey, we just don't need to incentivize. We have enough miners here, pretty much. We don't need more. This is what I'm a fan of. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I'm not an Anycoin maxi. I'm a choice maxi. So as long as Texas, if they want to produce this gold-backed digital currency, I'm all for it as an option and the freedom to be able to choose it. As long as Texas doesn't go, you know what, we changed our mind on Bitcoin. Gold-backed digital currency, that's better. We're going to go that route. Forget Bitcoin. Screw it. We're going to make it illegal. We're going to get rid of our miners. As long as they don't do that, hey, Texas, you do you. Create freedom for people to choose what they want to hold as their store of value. And then here's what I would say. That's the other thing about this whole situation is why doesn't, and I guess now I was about to say something stupid. So I'll tell you what I was going to say. and I realized how stupid it was. I was like, why do they put so much emphasis on stopping people from being free and just rather educate people? Then I was like, oh, well, we don't want the government educating people on crypto. Yeah. But they should definitely prioritize getting the proper education into people and letting people learn more about proper, like, you don't even need crypto education. Why don't we just have way more emphasis, like in schools? Why don't we teach kids how to pay taxes and how to financially plan and how to invest wisely and what are some good ways to think about your future? Obviously, I think that you can get down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theory that says that they don't want people to know how to do that stuff. But if we want to protect an individual from going into poverty and losing their money, we need to help people understand how to handle money. Don't stop and limit their ability to make money, which is what a lot of people in other countries and certain states want to do when it comes to crypto. So Texas, do your thing. Have a gold-backed digital currency. Just allow the others to exist as well.
Yeah, and obviously there is a pretty big one called Paxos. Paxos has a digital currency and that is gold-backed. So I wonder if they would just adopt that, or if there would be another institution kind of stepping in. I guess it's the state. They're wanting the state to issue that. But in any case, we've got two more stories, but I wanted to give, before we get into our Q&A, but I wanted to give Piper a chance to answer this. But before I do, my take on this is essentially this would be good. This would be a move that would ultimately bring gradual weakness to the dollar. A slow phase out of the dollar would be better than the dollar getting taken out overnight, the bonds getting sold off, the yields skyrocketing, right? We don't want to see things happen suddenly. We want to see them happen over time. And if Texas could pass something like this, to where we could kind of see and measure and have a calculated economic measurement of the effects of a stronger currency in the United States, that would be good. The other thing too is if Texas did this, there'd probably be another state like Massachusetts or Texas or Tennessee that would go ahead and try to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. Now that would be a lot trickier and a lot more controversial. But I think if Texas could pass a gold-backed digital currency, then there could be a little bit of precedent for that. I don't know how that would work from a constitutional standpoint as a federalist nation. I don't know if a state could issue its own currency. I think that's probably pretty sketchy territory. But yeah, Piper, I wanted to hear what your thoughts are. Would this bill be ultimately good for crypto? And just what are your thoughts on it in general?
Well, first off, congratulations. You nailed every talking point that I had. Pax G absolutely already exists. So the other one was I think there's a law issue with having a state currency from the federal currency. There's gotta be. Yeah, well, it goes all the way back to the Civil War. One of the factors in the Civil War literally was the currency that the South was starting to use against the North. So, yeah. So I mean, there's a thing there. It exists. You can't have state currency that goes against. You can have Cole's cash, but you can't have a state issued currency. So
I got you. Can have peanut butter and jelly coin.
Yeah. You can have PB&J. Yes.
Yeah. But you
so
can't.
Section 8 permits Congress to coin money and to regulate its value. Section 10 denies states the rights to coin or print their own money. The farmers clearly intended a national monetary. The framers, goodness, the framers clearly intended a national monetary system based on coin, and for the power to regulate that system to rest only with the federal government. So that would definitely be in violation of the U.S. Constitution. But what I would wonder is maybe they could pass it as a state municipal bond. They could issue it as some kind of bond associated with roads and gold. Go ahead, Piper. Sorry, I kind of cut you in there.
No, that's fine. And that you're nailing it. We are eye to eye on this 100%. So
that's your other talking point.
Yep. No, that they could do it as an incentive to invest into your state government. So so it would be an investment, not a currency. That's the key word, currency.
Yeah.
So,
but it'd be a highly transferable, highly liquid investment.
Correct. There's loopholes in everything. Ask politicians; they know them all.
Yeah, but I wouldn't also put it past Texas to just go ahead and say we are seceding from the federal monetary system. It is broken, and that's what we're doing. We've done things similar before, but this is a Texit from the monetary system. All right, moving into our final stories. Thank you, Piper. Thank you, Tim, for weighing in on that. Moving into our final stories here quickly. This is just breaking, and we're not going to deliberate on this too much. But Israel strikes Lebanon after barrage of militia rockets. This is confirmed. This is from Zero Hedge, so I went ahead and confirmed it from Reuters. And indeed, Israeli strikes target Hamas in Lebanon and Gaza after rocket attack. And we'll read the details here. More than 30 rockets fired from Lebanon. So from Lebanon, Israel blames Hamas and Hezbollah. Rocket strikes follow Israel raids on Al-Aqsa Mosque. And then UN seeks to de-escalate as Security Council meets. Oh, so the Security Council has met on this issue. That's pretty interesting.
I had to read that. I thought you said Hezbollah. I was like, what does he have to do with this?
Yeah.
Hezbollah.
I think it's pretty much the same pronunciation. And then Benjamin Netanyahu responded in a statement. Benjamin Netanyahu, who's the prime minister of Israel, Israeli reaction tonight and in the future will exact a significant price from our enemies. I mean, guys, this happens almost every year, and Israel don't play. They strike very decisively and very quickly. So Piper, maybe you have some thoughts on this, but we can go ahead and move pretty quickly from that right into our Q&A.
Yeah, it's time to jump into Q&A, and if you do have thoughts on that, Piper, we can get back to that in a second. But I wanted to read. There's 2 more super chats that came in, and then we will transition into that first super chat that we had, and then you guys can start asking questions if you want to do it. If we want to do TA, if you guys want to just ask questions about news events, if you want to ask questions about the market, if you want to ask questions about Beamer, if you want to ask questions about T-Shroom's gang he's in, you can ask whatever you want to ask at this point.
My gang?
Yeah, your gang.
The Ada gang?
Oh, is it what was the T? Are you timeout? Oh, okay. Well, you're
that's
muted.
T-Shroom's gang sign.
Oh, okay. I thought you were telling me to time out.
Who are you down with?
Z Canceling Radio gave $20. Thank you so much. Said, happy Easter, guys. You guys work so hard. The least I can do is to buy you lunch this Good Friday. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Z Canceling Radio. Matt C said, you know what? I'm not going to stand by and let other people do generous acts and not participate. And he said, let me pick up the drinks for that lunch. Have a great Easter weekend with a $20 donation as well. So thank you, Matt C. and Z Canceling Radio. I told you guys, we have an amazing community.
That's awesome.
We love you guys so much. Let's get back to that question. NMCT. This is a discussion. I mean, we can look at charts too, but this really isn't necessarily a chart question. He said, I have a bag of ADA, but I'm worried.
Really quick. Let Piper respond to that as really those rocket attacks. Really quick. Good.
Mine's short.
I actually refuse to allow him to respond.
That's a Friday. That's just a Friday in Israel.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So reading back this, in case anyone missed it, he asked, I have a bag of ADA, but I'm worried that ADA acts like more of a social experiment than replacement for financial services. What are your guys' thoughts? I have some thoughts, but I you know what, Piper, I would love to hear your thoughts first, if you have any. Is that a normal Friday for ADA too? Or is that just an Israel thing? What are your thoughts about ADA at the moment?
I'm bullish on ADA. ADA is my second largest bag, and while yes, it is used for a social experiment, great things come from that. Let me tell you, I was in the Army for 21 and a half years. It is the center of gravity when it comes to social experiments that led into most of the civil rights that exist today. So I'm okay with ADA having this stigma, if you will, of being a social token because or social experiment, because it is that experimentation that leads to bigger, better, greater things for ADA and for other cryptocurrencies that come out in the future, because they're going to see what ADA was able to do. I'm okay with education records, school records being kept on the ADA blockchain when you have a country that every 5 years their entire government collapses and every building with records is burnt down. If those people can go, hey, I graduated from all of my schools, here it is on the blockchain. Can I get into the university of, in the UK or university in Australia or in the US, wherever, because they have those records and they become this doctor that cures cancer? How do we know that that's not being stifled in the education system throughput in advancement of education in Africa simply because there's no way to keep records on? So I'm all for it. If it fixes these things, go for it. Because from those little achievements comes great accomplishments. So
John Kahn just commented and took my first point of the 2 points I want to make. He said Cardano does a lot of things outside of currency, the blockchain is utilized in Africa a lot. My point was going to be tell people in Africa that Cardano is just a social experiment. And by the way, we're talking about the largest continent. I think that's a miscalculation. A lot of people make it look like Asia is the largest continent in the world. I was reading somewhere. I mean, someone could fact check me on this, but Africa is the largest continent in the world. Also, I think one of the coolest things about Cardano, I think we don't talk about this very often. I haven't heard someone say this in a while, but stereotypes. I think sometimes, especially, maybe I just grew up in a more racist group. There's almost this connotation that Africans are not necessarily the most intelligent people. That is very far from true. In fact, Africans have some of the leading technology in the world. There are some things that if Africa was let loose and they were able to contribute to the world, they would just blow us away. But because of the corruption, because of lack of internet, because of lack of good monetary policy, because a lack of safe banks, Africa has not been able to contribute to technology upgrades. Cardano's mission to incorporate that and bring banks to the unbanked and starting off with Africa, I think is going to be a massive world changer. My second thought about my second thought about Cardano and why it is not just a social experiment is because what you're looking at here, it has dispelled every FUD that has ever been thrown at it. It does things slow, yes. It takes its time, yes. But guess why? Because it's so worried about security. And Charles Hoskinson has said this. I was in a room while he was being interviewed, and he talked about how everyone wants results right now. But can we be honest? Cryptocurrency 3 years from today will make what we're looking at right now, the best of cryptocurrency, will seem absolutely stupid. He's taking his time and he's doing things the right way for security and because it's not a race to see who does something first. It's a race to see who does things best. And that is what Cardano is doing. There's all that FUD. Where's these DEXs? They keep talking about DEXs. Well, then they came out and they produced DEXs out the wazoo. Looking at even wallets like with staking. I don't know if you have to fact check me on this, but it is outpacing many other staking protocols. People are loving staking on Cardano. Have we seen the mass adoption shift over to Cardano just yet? Not necessarily, but I'm not going to be very surprised when you do see that start to happen. Not to say that Ethereum is going to die because of Cardano. I think they're both going to exist. But I think Cardano is going to give Ethereum quite a run for its money when it comes to use case. Obviously, Ethereum has Matic working for it. Matic's its own little beast. But Cardano is doing things slowly the right way. They're building it the right way. They're, like Piper said, they're doing things that others can follow behind them and say, I'm not going to make mistakes. I'm going to do things the same way Cardano does in a way that's a trailblazer. Once they blaze the trail on how to create safe and secure cryptocurrency on the blockchain, others will be able to trickle right behind them. And so whether or not Cardano is number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or number 10, what it will produce for the crypto space as a whole is more than just a social experiment. And then let's sum up my third point. It is, fight me if you want. It is the most committed community of any single crypto out there. Bitcoin, I don't count that. I'm talking about altcoins in general. Of people who just cling to an altcoin and swear by it and just will never leave it. Show me a coin with more people of that type of thought than Cardano. You're not going to find it. XRP's up there. It's good. I mean, a lot of people love Ethereum, but nobody loves their coin the way Cardano community loves their coin.
I don't know. XRP loves their XRP, man.
I know. And that is no diss to XRP. XRP has an amazing community as well. I just would say put them up against Cardano. I think you're going to find more numbers in the Cardano camp.
Yeah, one thing that I will point out about ADA is that one of the things that I see highly valuable, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but your medical data gets sold to pharmaceutical companies and everything all the time. Did you know that?
No.
Yes, they sell your medical records, no names, all redacted, so that people can look and try to find a baseline for issues and problems, stuff like that. If your medical records were kept on a blockchain like ADA, which would be extremely cheap to keep all your medical records, you would be able to sell your own medical records and you make the money to those pharmaceutical and medical research companies. So that's one thing that I think would be fantastic for ADA to get into, because almost everyone on the planet has medical records. Everyone on the planet needs their medical records kept up to date and secured, and it would monetize your medical data to go to these research companies. So
fascinating.
There was another question I saw here a little bit earlier. It was a good question. I think it's a little change of statement. I love this, though. We're not doing that much TA. If you guys have a coin, we only have about 5 minutes left, so we'd only be able to do one. But I saw a question earlier that I'm struggling to find it now.
He's struggling. He's struggling.
Rick Wilson
second.
said there's a project on Cardano that's for this exact use. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breno Silva, here we go. Breno Silva said, I have a cool question. So we already know right off the bat.
Wait
This is
a
a pretty
second.
cool question.
Wait a second.
So thank you, Breno, for bringing it to us. I haven't even read it yet, but I know it's cool. What do you guys think about AI? Oh, wait, I'm going to start this over because I think I did not read it correctly.
Dude.
What you guys think about, okay, I did read it correctly. It just, he meant something else. What you guys think about AI is good or not for people and why? So let me rephrase this. What about AI is good for people and what is not good for people and why? Good question. Very cool question there, Breno. Let's start off with you, T-Shroom. What are your thoughts about AI? You've been playing with it a lot here more recently. You just got ChatGPT 4. What are your thoughts about AI and what's good and bad at the moment?
AI, artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
It's interesting. What's good about it is that it's a supplement. I mean, just like a shovel helps humans dig faster than using their hands and their feet. You know, AI is going to help us perform these modern tech tasks and jobs a lot better. That's just the full stop. It's an economic boost. It's to each individual's ability to produce. That's the good, and it's very clear and it's very obvious. I can perform a lot of my tasks a lot faster with AI, and I do. And we're working right now actually with somebody to potentially, develop maybe some business services to do exactly that for other businesses. That's very early days, but AI can absolutely help people. It can help people. It can help organizations, and it has. Lex Friedman just had on the founder of C3.ai, whose name is escaping me right now. But there was a long conversation about the downsides, and the downside that the founder of C3.ai sees coming in the very short term. He's seeing it, especially with the new update of ChatGPT 4, is actually going to be the dev community, the software development community. Could potentially see quite a loss of new job opportunities as companies that develop software realize that they can actually, instead of having a 10-person team, they could have a 6-person team that uses ChatGPT to program and develop code. So that could be the overall negative is definitely going to be felt by the labor market, the white collar labor market of people who work in kind of the media and the tech industry. A lot of people that sit behind a computer, like your boy, could potentially be replaced by people who are more aggressively educating themselves with AI and that are going to replace them. So there's definitely pros and cons. The more extreme cons, like ChatGPT becoming sentient and becoming a GAI or whatever it's called. I think that that's, first of all, I don't want to pretend like I understand that and the risks there. But I feel like it's a lot farther off. So that's kind of my take.
But even that, I think that is true. Jobs will change, but AI will create brand new ones. First of all, it'll create jobs for more engineers. Because that's the thing, is like a company might not have to have as many workers, but they definitely need more engineers in to come and program the AIs to make sure they're doing everything correctly. But I was watching it was a Joe Rogan podcast, honestly, and I don't remember who his guest was, but he was discussing why people should not be afraid of AI taking jobs away from people in the labor force, because guess what? Nobody wants to work in the labor force like that. Nobody wants to do manual labor. No one wants to sit at a what do you call it? A
cubicle?
No, well, no one wants to do that either. No one wants to sit in an assembly line, assembling parts, doing random, just these absolutely stupid details of things. We would much rather robots do that. It will create more creative jobs. It will create more room in entertainment.
Correct.
Now, you can make an argument that's the downside, but watch. I mean, as the economy does better, because that's what will happen. AI will do better. It'll put more money into pockets of owners that will make the economy do better. It'll make stocks go up. It'll make companies go up. It'll make everything go up. And guess what people do when the economies go up? They want to be entertained. They want to sit back and relax. And that comes with work, not only if you're not just the performer, but performers need people to do things. There are certain jobs AI will not be able to do. And it's like it will create a whole new realm that people have more freedom in work. Then the other thing you're looking at is watch as we see things like what Elon Musk is doing.
Yeah.
Do we not realize the things that Elon Musk is working on is he wants to make it so that electricity would be free. He wants to make it so that Wi-Fi and other things will be free. They're going to make it in places where to live life could actually be free is hard, but super cheap. So then you get to the question of, I don't even need to have a crazy job that I work maybe 80 hours a week to put food on the table. I can have a job that I actually really like doing. I can express and go after my goals and vision and my what I want to accomplish in life and not have to worry about money. That's the other thing that is really cool about cryptocurrency. And we don't say this enough, but we need to talk about it more. Guess what happens right now when it comes to creation, when it comes to innovation? We do not have a world right now that prioritizes brand new discovery. Whenever a product is made, there's the 0 to 1 step and then the 1 to 100 step. 0 to 1 is nothing like this has ever been seen. Nobody is doing this. And that's the hardest step. Innovating and making something better, meaning steps from 1 to 100, that is all we see right now. We just improve things. It's because we went away from a firm currency. We went to this fake money where things have to happen so fast. Guess what takes time? 0 to 1. It's really easy to go from 1 to 100. That just takes, making things better step after step after step. It is really hard to go from 0 to 1. But with cryptocurrency, this gives us a more stable currency. It gives us something that goes back to prioritizing long-term benefits. And guess what? We'll have a world that once again starts thinking about 0 to 1, 0 to 1. You want to know why Elon Musk is so special? Because he's a 0 to 1 thinker. Yes, he innovates. Yes, he gets better. But his mind is about how can I go from 0 to 1? We need more people like that. And I think that AI and cryptocurrency are a part of how we can get back to that type of future.
Absolutely. I want to add to that too. I think that the closer we get to quantum computing with AI technology, the closer we will get to 0 to 1 not becoming a thing at all, because the AI will do 0 to 1 and then the human will develop the 1 to 100. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it is 10:31. We couldn't even go 1 week without breaking our own news. The whole point of going an extra 30 minutes was because we never seem to end right at 10 o'clock, but we already beat it. I'm sure none of you guys are that offended by it, though. We love each and every single last one of you guys. Thank you so much for joining and being with us here this morning. Once again, if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel. This was very relaxing. Just so you guys know, also, I saw in chat people were saying, love this more laid-back, casual conversation. This is what happens in all of what we call our bro times or our AMAs over in our Discord for our gold and diamond members. We have these types of conversations twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3 to 4. So if you're looking for more conversation just like this, you might want to consider joining our Patreon. Check out the link down below. Reminder to all of you guys, I will not be here Monday or Tuesday, but Piper and T-Shroom will. So the show is going to continue and it's going to be strong. We got a great team here lined up. We also have an amazing community, and that's each and every single last one of you guys. Once again, you're watching the most generous channel in all of crypto YouTube. Love you guys. We'll see you. They'll see you on Monday. I'll see you on Wednesday. You guys have a great weekend.